We are live. This is the market update. I'm your host, Bill Noble. If you need a roadmap in crypto, subscribe to this channel. Turn on alerts so you know when we're going live. And if the content is helpful, please hit the like button and leave a comment. Let's take a moment to welcome who's coming in on the stream. Bull Runner 76. Always nice to see you. Glad to see regulars on the stream. Right? Crypto at 2 a.m. Appreciate that. Nerf Ball. Rocket ship is fueled. Hey, hey. Right? Spin made it on time. Hard to believe in his words. Italy in the house. Welcome. Right? Willimeter says, please hit the like button for Bill. LFG from Jay the Banker. Okay. Wrong Again is here, along with Israel from Alabama in the house. And of course, there's my good friend Driftless Crypto. Welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the stream. So for today, as people hopefully trickle in, we're going to do something a little bit different, right? We're going to do news. And for anybody who's like a longtime viewer of the stream, we're going to do like the 1 or 2 chart market update. Sometimes I say, it can be as simple as 1 or 2 charts. Right. And today, I think, is going to be one of those days, particularly after you see the news. Okay. Ashton is here. Welcome. Thank you. Mr. Moby Dick is in the house. Right. Perry is here. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Okay. Let's start with what everyone is talking about, which, of course, is not the thing to talk about, but let's talk about that anyway. All right. So up here, Morgan Stanley about to cut 2% of staff on Tuesday. It's tough when they're doing it before the holidays, right? It's better that people do it before the holidays so you can adjust holiday spending. Okay. But that's tough, right? And this is a byproduct of a lower stock market and Fed tightening. Sam Bankman-Fried could face years in prison and 32 over FTX's $32 billion meltdown if the U.S. ever gets around to arresting him. So what this does is it creates 2 things, right? Sam Bankman-Fried is still walking around somewhere in the Bahamas. Who knows about the politics of that situation, right? And how this guy has to face the music for what happened. The thing is, everyone is talking about this. Like, this guy's on major talk shows. It's almost like everyone's watching Sam and no one's watching the market. No one's watching the market, right? And if they are watching the market, they're watching it like, oh, what's the next FTX shoe to drop? Which, okay. That's not unreasonable. But the thing is that what you want to be doing now? All right. We'll talk more about that. Okay. We have Metabice is here from the volunteer state. Welcome. Go Vols. Pancakes and peanut butter. Wrong again. Hello. Right. Spin is here. Hi. Right. Crypto Crazy is on the show. Welcome. Always like to see my friends and my regulars. I think I'm going to switch from calling you regulars to calling my friends, because that's how much I appreciate you. Bull Runner is saying, is it possible for you to share your Williams oscillator settings during TA, please? Okay. I will definitely take a look at Williams oscillator settings. Okay. That is not a preset in TradingView. I have to get that from like a script that someone else posts, but I'll do my best. I went with whatever they set it as. All right. Now, so we have Sam. We have Sam's. Pancakes and peanut butter says we are friends. I appreciate that. So Sam's running around and everyone's talking about that. Then this, right? Now, obviously, I don't like making fun of guys that make wrong calls. And, as you probably heard about on Twitter, people are giving me the Jim Cramer treatment. But Cramer urges investors to sell their crypto. That was yesterday. Right now, these guys, it happened to me. I caught Celsius, right? I did a little get to the chopper on FTX, but even I got caught, right? I got caught thinking that, something that was fundamentally good, turned out to have a much deeper retracement than I thought. So it's pretty much happened to everybody in 2022. Cramer urges investors to sell their crypto, right? Not last year when the Fed was starting their tightening cycle, now. So that's probably going to bring in tax loss selling, which we've talked about. But again, is urging investors to sell now and Sam Bankman-Fried walking around. Should that be your focus? No. Here's what should be your focus. Goldman Sachs reportedly looking to buy crypto firms after FTX collapsed. Okay. In other words, there are people out there who are looking at this and saying, if all the weak players, if all of the bubble babies are out of the market, or the system has been purged of leveraged excess, bad risk management, etc., is this an opportunity to start looking at buying firms, buying stocks, or buying coins? Right? In 2001, the last time we had this sort of like colossal, market fall apart thing when the dot-com bubble burst, there were all kinds of scandals. There was Enron and WorldCom for, accounting fraud or accounting regularities, disastrous consequences across, a wide range of ecosystems. You had 9/11, obviously, that was 2001, right? So you had all these events occur, right, that just resulted in the total destruction of a lot of sectors that wound up later on being long-term buying opportunities. Now, are we at that point in crypto yet? I don't know. I don't know if there's another shoe to drop, but I know I want to be paying attention to what my former employer is doing versus what the retail investor may be doing or thinking. Now, speaking of retail, right, you've got more excessively bearish sentiment coming from UK crypto bill to restrict advertising, okay, in the UK. This legislation updates will broaden the power of regulators and probably limit foreign companies' operation in the United Kingdom. So basically, they're going 1 minute when they want to be popular, they say, oh, bring your crypto business here. Then crypto corrects or goes down, and they go, we don't want it here anymore. And I remember them in 2018, everybody was banning Bitcoin advertising. The firm I was working at the time was ruined based on the fact that we couldn't advertise our newsletter service on Google Ads. Google banned crypto. Now, Silicon Valley embraces crypto depending on the mood of the day. But back then they were just like, no, we're not doing crypto. And of course, that was a massive low, massive. That was at 3,000, where we were just basically iced out of existence by a big Silicon Valley player. Now, Russia is going to build a crypto exchange. Is this anything to celebrate? Probably not. I'm not a big fan of these guys for a lot of reasons. One of them is I'm Ukrainian. But let's keep that out of it for a minute, right? People, as certain people exit crypto, other people are looking to get in. Brazil wants to get in. Russia wants to get in. Why? Because they want to get off the dollar. They want to get off the dollar, right? Everybody in crypto is like, oh, Sam Bankman-Fried, or, I know there could be a problem with GBTC. Everybody's forgotten about the vision of crypto because, people screwed up. I can't even use men behaving badly anymore, right? I heard somebody say that about me, and it really hurt because that was not my intention, right? It wasn't. But everybody is focused on the scandals and nobody is focused on gee, is this an opportunity in crypto? In other words, once I'm done tax loss selling, which was a theme I was using back in October, right? So if your altcoin is done or you did a bad trade, right? I did some bad trades. If you did a bad trade, then once that's purged, both your psyche and your account can be ready for what's next. And no one is talking about that. Okay. Interesting, right? I'm starting to wonder, based on some of the things that, I'm looking at on charts, maybe there's one final dip in Matic, right? But I'm wondering if Polygon isn't worth additional analytical, I don't know, rigor. In other words, look at the chart more, because it seems like that's one of the few crypto projects that seems to be able to generate ongoing news flow, right? Okay. So I was hesitant to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. Okay. So this is GLDN. This is, something that I liked in the beginning. It went up a lot, right? And then I was like, I think this has a long-term future. And then it went down. I think one of the things I can do as an analyst is be intellectually honest and say, here's what I said, and here's what the market did, right? And, that's it. Okay, so let's just talk about what's been happening, right? So this is the sort of the picture on a 4-hour chart of the vertical down moves in GLDN. So the first vertical down move was about 56%. The second vertical down move was 66%. And the recent vertical down move was about 41%, depending on where you started from. Okay. So anywhere from 50 to 66% is how GLDN does its crashes. Now, in GLDN, the way I'm looking at it is, obviously there's a big psychological inflection point at $1, right? I mean, $1 was where it went. It went from nothing to $1, and then there was a substantial correction, and then there was a breakout. So it remains to be seen whether, in crypto or in markets, things happen in threes, right? Like this was 1, 2, 3 pretty brutal crashes. Now you're like, well, Bill, that last crash wasn't particularly brutal. Well, I mean, if you look at it this way, right? This is a 50% drop. Most of that occurred in like a matter of a day. Okay. So anywhere from 40 to 60% is what's been happening. Let me go over here and measure one other big decline. So, again, if I'm facing music on this, well, there's no if. When I'm facing music on this, at least I can say, this is how I did. This is how at least I followed up the analysis rather than pretending that nothing bad ever happened. Right? People can like that or not like that. So this decline over here was 48%. So there's 48%, right? There's 56%, there's 66%. And then over here, just so I can read it clearly, there's 43%, assuming support at $1 is relevant. Now, what does this help you with? Well, I remember, and I couldn't find the chart. This goes back to Matic, right? When it came to Matic, there were 2 or 3 times. Now, obviously, it wasn't in a compressed time frame like this, but there were times where Matic in 2019 would go up 50% and then go all the way back down, right? It actually did that a couple times, right? So my boss at the time was very into Matic, right? And helium. And a lot of times what you would have is you'd have these big runs up and you'd have these huge drops. I mean, it is common in altcoins, especially the small ones. Now, again, once there were these all the way up, all the way down, and people got shaken out, that eventually set up something positive, but that took time. And this thing has obviously been traveling on some sort of like accelerated warp speed path, both on the way up and the way down. So 50% drops have been common. This thing's done 3 of them all the way down to support at $1. Okay. So I wanted to at least address that because obviously the price action is moving. And if I'm not talking about it, then it doesn't feel like I'm doing my job as an analyst, right? Because you've got to address the stuff you did right. And you've got to address the stuff where, people may have come in and gotten long on the way up, assuming a bigger trend, and then the trend turned. All right. Now, when it does come to this ecosystem, we are working on something called, the 12 days of BARC. Okay. There is a water contract, right, inside the GLDN universe, which was one of the reasons why I like GLDN to begin with. So you want to tune in to future streams where we're going to do the 12 days of BARC, where we talk about this water contract every day for 12 days. Because one of the reasons, again, why I liked it, it's not TA. It does have a chart. Okay. Actually, let me see if I can pull up the chart right here. It does have a chart. BARC, that's the name of the product. Okay. GLDN is the trading pair. Obviously, there's not a whole lot to look out here because this was just airdropped. Okay. And no one is talking about BARC because it seems to be more fun to talk about me and any related FUD about GLDN. So in BARC, which I guess I would describe to you as a possible, or at least an attempt to innovate a water futures contract, right, using the blockchain. The 62% retracement level is holding. Okay. And again, there was a lot of talk, a lot of FUD. This was airdropped to people who owned GLDN. Okay. The 12 days of BARC is coming. Now, let's move over to live TA and let's talk about Ethereum. Let's talk about ETHE. Now, I've simplified this, and I know you're going to be like, oh, thank God. Okay, now talking about Williams, here are my Williams settings for Bull Runner. So I've got length slow 35, length fast 5. Okay, and I want to say I got the indicator. I want to say I got the indicator from in here. Let me see if I type awesome. Right. I think I used the awesome oscillator. That's what Williams called it, because it was a compilation of a whole group of oscillators, which are like RSIs, stochastics. He put a whole bunch of them together, and it really does work quite well. All right, now let's talk about Ethereum, or ETHE, which is Ethereum in the equity market. Now, one thing we've noticed, these blue lines are the change of seasons. So start of spring, start of summer, start of fall in September. And then, the official kickoff for winter is right around the holidays at the winter solstice. So I've done a lot of analysis on this, but I'm going to keep this part simple. So during the seasons, we've seen a phenomenon, right? We've seen, after the change of season, ETH goes up and then ETH goes down. And then after the change of seasons in the summer, ETH went up. That was probably the merge, and then ETH went down. Okay. That was, Celsius. And then, again, in the fall, ETH went sideways, tried to go up, and then boom, ETHE makes a new low. So even as stocks trade terrible, which we'll go into, and ETH doesn't trade great either, let me ask you this. This is where I'm trying to get everybody's head as we talk about the news and we do like the 2-chart market update. Where is it now is important. Where is it going to be at, say, the Western holiday of Christmas? Okay, when you're at Christmas or the winter solstice, what do you want to be doing in crypto? Do you want to be ready to be long? Not investment advice, but that's what I would guess. It's just a question of what are they going to do to it in the meantime? Okay, so I'm interested in what happens in crypto in the first quarter of next year. A lot of people think the bear market resumes in force. There are reasons for that, but I'm interested in this seasonal pattern where ETH either holds or goes up after the change of seasons. we'll see if that continues. I think what happens around the winter solstice, like I'm talking plus or minus 5 days, is going to be my next chart focus. Okay. Okay. So John Loftus says, are these drops due to the vesting schedule? That I'm not familiar with. I think they just announced, like, BARC was announced earlier, like, I don't know, a month or two ago, that, basically you had to keep, they were going to take a snapshot of your GLDN wallet, and then they were going to airdrop BARC based on what was in the wallet at that time. Okay. Somebody, Crypto for Noobs, says PAX G wise, stay in now. I feel like I can't get out of PAX as PAX seems to fall with crypto. Any thoughts? Okay, so before I do stocks, let's just go over to gold. Okay. Now, I'm trying to figure out, honestly, how to draw the gold chart. I'm just going to work off gold instead of off PAX. So I think this gold chart, the gold theme, has become something that, I don't know, I don't want to say it's consensus, but I think there are a lot of people who are like, hey, there's a surprise for next year and its gold goes up. And I'm like, is that really a surprise? I don't know. Not to me, it isn't, but maybe it is to other people who just, like, don't believe it. Okay, actually, let me take this off and let's just do some, like, sometimes people like to just watch me draw on the chart. So let's do that. Let's just draw on the chart. Okay, so there's a lot of trend line action around 1780. And, I think it's reasonable in gold to draw this head and shoulders bottom. Okay, now, so gold has a trend line. This is up here in June of this year. So this is like right at the Celsius debacle where seemingly everything went down, as well as fear of Fed rate hikes. And as is typical with gold, you've got quite a battle going on here. You got quite a battle going on here between bulls and bears. Because I know people like to manipulate or push gold around because they don't want it to go up, or at least, any gold bug can give you that whole story and explanation about, how one day precious metals are going to get sort of loose or free, if you will. Okay, so let's draw what happens if this head and shoulders top, if there's a breakout, a clear breakout above, say, 1783. So if gold breaks out above 1783, okay, the upside target, right? Let me draw it again. So here's how you draw an upside target on a head and shoulders. You start at the bottom of the head and you go up to the neckline. Then you take that little bar from TradingView and you project it up from the point of the breakout. That, theoretically, if gold does go, that could lead to a target of 1960. Now, here's something really funny. A lot of people think that gold and gold going up is a 2023 a surprise. I'm going to politely disagree. I actually think gold going up could be a 2022 surprise, right? In other words, gold could take off, resulting in a performance chase, right? The Santa rally could be in gold and Bitcoin if stocks don't fall apart, which we'll get to. The Santa rally could be in gold. Santa rally meaning, there's people chase winners near the end of the year. So after being down for so long and gold doing well lately, if gold breaks out, I think the surprise is this year. Now, why would that be wrong? Okay, so stocks are facing some music, right? There is, a trend line on the S&P weekly chart. Okay. And, I'm glad I found this. And, I was like, oh, I better pay attention to this. Okay. Obviously, this is the all-time high in the S&P 500. And, all good trend lines have 3 points. So the S&P has hit this trend line, and it looks like tax loss selling in equities is in full force. Okay. Rave Song Records, welcome. Yes, I am back. Actually, I never left. I just had to get to a new channel. But thank you for finding me. Also, feel free to please subscribe to the channel. We are going to be going live 4 days a week, posting videos and doing shorts. Also, a major Instagram and Twitter push are coming soon. So you definitely want to stay tuned to the channel to get all the updates as the way to get all the content, right? And I will be doing content because I am the director of research now for Gold Retriever. So I got a new channel and a new job. Now, back to the market. S&P 500, if it's going to go down in December, which is pretty rare, but if it is going to go down in December, that's going to put a lid on crypto, right? But does that mean crypto is going to fall apart? Okay, well, here's something that I don't have the exact numbers, but I do know this, okay? Actually, let me see if I can add this on the fly. Ooh, let me see, Bitcoin. What I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to add Bitcoin with the price of oil. Okay. So Bitcoin is in orange. Bitcoin is in orange, and the candle graph is oil. Okay. And this is a daily chart. And you're probably sitting there going, okay, Bill, well, why are you doing that? Well, because we did statistical analysis with an economist who I really respected. His first name's David. David, if you're out there, man, your work was awesome. That basically showed gold's going up and the dollar going down was awesome for ETH. It also showed that higher oil prices were toxic for Bitcoin. Okay. And of course, that flips around to say, hey, if oil starts falling, that could be good for Bitcoin, potentially, or at least prevent a debacle in the market short term. So, I mean, as you can see, right, once oil got to a certain point here, Bitcoin was done, right? The inflation pressure, the Fed tightening, and all that. So this isn't perfect, right? It was oil up, Bitcoin up post-COVID. But once oil got to a certain level, Bitcoin fell out of bed, right? And that was right here. The Bitcoin top had oil right at about $77. So I'm wondering, since oil right now, US oil is now at $73, whether or not oil down could mean Bitcoin up. Who's talking about that? Nobody. Nobody. Right now, you're like, well, why is oil down? Well, oil could be down because basically we're going into some sort of massive slowing of economic growth. And I think the thing that no one talks about is that, inflation is going to slowly moderate back down to 5%. Exactly. It's like, oh, is anyone actually talking about inflation falling out of bed? Nobody. That should be the theme of this stream. Like, is anybody doing this? Nobody. Nobody. So if you look at Bitcoin, Bitcoin fell out of bed when oil got to 80. And I'm wondering if Bitcoin could restart itself if oil stays below 80. Oil right now is at 73. So what are people doing? They're selling stocks, right? They're tax loss selling, right? I remember if you want to talk about crypto war stories, I wrote this thing when Bitcoin went to 3,000 that Bitcoin could go to 1,500. This was an article back in 2018. Okay. Or 2017 late. And then I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. I think I just sold the low, and I turned myself around. So going to be interesting to see if Bitcoin benefits at all from falling commodity prices, right? Because, if the dollar doesn't go up, and I have no idea why the dollar would go up. I have no idea why the dollar went up anyway. Here's just DXY versus Bitcoin, right? Might as well show this. So, to state the obvious, dollar index up, right? Bitcoin down. Actually, let me do it with arrows, just to remind everybody, right? Dollar index up, Bitcoin straight down. Okay, the dollar index doesn't move like crypto, so it'll move and then it'll hang out and then it'll make its next move. But I'm just wondering, like I looked on some of our analytics because, now we're really interested in what people are interested in on YouTube. And there's no interest in Bitcoin at all. None. No one cares. So that makes me more interested in it. Okay, now let's, show a Bitcoin chart. So here is GBTC. So we're doing Bitcoin. Actually, you know what? Let's do actual Bitcoin to keep it, easier. So Bitcoin on a daily basis, if you go to an 89-minute chart, no, actually, you know what I did? I did the DeMark work. So here's Bitcoin on a 4-hour chart, right? And we talked about this yesterday where we saw a 13 top. Okay. And, that's normally a signal that there's going to be a correction, and the market loves to do these like weekend extremes, right? Loves to make extremes over the weekend, and Bitcoin is lower because stocks are lower, right? And 16,700 is a support point in Bitcoin. Let's just take a look at ETH briefly. ETH stopped at 1,300, which really, frankly, sucked, right? My Gann work says you don't want to see a failure at 1,300, and it did. Okay, but crypto is not falling out of bed at the same rate stocks are. Like right now, the S&P is down almost 2%, okay, and Bitcoin is down about 25 basis points. So stocks are falling apart. Gold is up and Bitcoin is holding, and even ETH is holding as well. So what does this tell you? It tells you that most of the calamity in crypto has already unfolded. Let's go back to DeMark. I think there's been a huge sort of pricing in of something awful in crypto. Now, does that mean the Fed can't come out and talk tough and this thing can get flushed out, over, say, the next 3 or 4 days? Yeah. Yeah. We're all dealing with tax loss selling. Like anybody who thinks I'm sleeping these days is crazy, because I'm not, right? I'm sweating this price action. I'm sweating the market, right? I think the way to approach is to say, where is support, which in Bitcoin on the 4-hour DeMark chart is at 16,700, is to say, where is support? Where is this thing going to be in 4 days? And where is it going to be at Christmas? And if everybody gives up and everybody focuses on, SBF and, you better get out of your crypto now, rather than, hey, are there any opportunities going into next year because it's over in the dollar? Okay. In other words, if there's a recession, right? So here's dollar coming back on an 89-minute chart. Okay. If the dollar stays down and commodities go down, the question is, what will happen with stocks? You want to look as to where this is in 5 days and again in, say, 15 days, right? Christmas could be Christmas in crypto. You may be able to pick up Bitcoin and Ethereum because nobody is talking about the value proposition of crypto. Everybody is just sort of packing it in. So Slacky is here with the notorious love. We appreciate that. Okay. Spin has BTC breaking out on his work, right? Yeah, Spin's like laugh out loud, sleep. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Okay. Farmer Sam is here from Budapest. Welcome. Lightning Speed. Hi. Richard Barry is here. How you doing? Okay. Zane says, Bill, we appreciate you, and soon your channel will explode. Rave Song Records says, spread the word. Yes, spread the word, because if this little decline in S&P turns into a big decline in S&P, that's going to affect gold and crypto. Okay, and it could give you the buying opportunity. Now, I'd love to see a surprise on the upside in gold. Okay, but we'll wait and see. Right now, tax loss selling in stocks is ruling the day. Let's take a look at VIX briefly. Okay. Adam Monero is here. Welcome. Always welcoming anybody new on the stream. Okay, so VIX, this is a measure of fear in equities, is in down-only mode. Let's go to Bollinger Bands, which have been very helpful in navigating VIX. So the good news is VIX never went below its bottom Bollinger Band, because that can result in major lows in VIX. Okay, which means major lows in fear. Okay. Okay, so, obviously VIX is down only. Everyone thinks everything is fine, and then VIX rockets up. So is there going to be fear in equities at the holidays? Yes, right? Because growth is going to be lower and everybody may tax loss sell. Okay, the next key level in VIX is 22. Okay, so we're watching fear in equities. So let's sum it up. Stocks, tax loss selling problem. Gold, a pause that refreshes. Bitcoin, maybe not as bad as everyone thinks. Ethereum, it seems to have fallen off everyone's radar. It's deflationary now, right? There's regulatory risk there, but there's regulatory risk with all altcoins. And then once people get done tax loss selling, even if it is still a down market overall, you've got to ask yourself, it's a simple question. If it's going to happen, where's the next rally, and how would I take advantage of it? You're going to look at 5 days from now, Christmas, and then we'll work on the 2023 preview coming soon on this channel. So I'm your host, Bill Noble. Jay Rye says, please like the video. Farmer Sam Forrest says, smash the likes. Definitely appreciate all you guys who came back and are still following me. So I will continue to bring you the best analysis possible, particularly in highly volatile environments. So I'm your host, Bill Noble. We'll see you next time.